It's almost like a parade, and you've got this guy sitting on, and says, this is what entrepreneurship is. And the guy's sitting on the lion, and everybody around him is watching him as he's going down the street, and they're going, man, this guy's great. Oh, you're so awesome. And he's sitting there going, I don't know how I got on this thing.
Yeah.
And I don't know how I can get off without getting eaten alive. And hopefully I just don't die. Yeah, man, like my it's almost like a parade in entrepreneurship started like super young. Like super young. Like when I look at, I was like 16.
Okay, oh.
But like when I look at kids when they're 16, I'm like, you don't know a thing you're doing. But I remember being 16 and being like, oh, I freaking know what I'm doing.
I got this.
But I started off, I grew up on a farm just outside of Lethbridge. Still there. We raised like chickens and buffalo and stuff like that. And at an early age, I knew I did not want to be a farmer.
That was also a really big animal gap.
Yes. Yeah, okay.
We raised chickens and buffalo.
Well, okay, and it's always this funny thing because it's like I say buffalo, but technically it's bison.
Yes.
Anyways, the chickens I think were just like something my dad kind of started because it was a farm that was there. His uncle had chickens. Anyways, but I don't think he loved them. If you've ever been in a chicken barn, you will not love chickens. Like the amount of like chirping. Anyways, and then bison he got into later on.
Yeah.
Because it was a crazy. This is like a weird fun fact for people. Is like I can't remember. I don't know how old. This is like probably 2000s. Yeah, somewhere in the 2000s, late 90s, early 2000s. Like bison prices were like going through the roof. I think it was like 5 or 4,000 or 5,000 or 6,000 an animal or something stupid. Like there was like a, you know how you're talking about like even booms in like cryptocurrency and stuff like that. There was literally a bison boom. Like.
All right.
Because what happened is people all of a sudden realized, oh, bison actually tastes pretty good.
Yeah.
But it's super lean. It's got more iron in it, so it's healthier for you. Bison take very little like chemicals to actually, or like very little, what do you call
Antibiotics?
it? Antibiotics to live. It's a very, very healthy meat. So like, you know how everybody's on this trend right now, like, oh, like grass-fed beef, this is great. Well, like honestly,
Bison.
And they're just super hardy, strong animals. And so all of a sudden everybody's like, there was this demand all of a sudden. People were like, kind of were catching on to this. Like, yeah, let's go. But there was no animals because obviously, you know.
Not a lot of people raised bison.
Well, you know, early centuries, we kind of killed them all. You know, like we didn't do a good thing. Kind of what almost made them extinct. Anyways, so there's not that many animals. Well, all of a sudden it was like, people were like, sweet. So then that's supply and demand.
Right.
And all of a sudden, everybody's buying them. And it's like people are trying to get as much as they can. But then what happened is they're not like cattle. So you can't raise them and butcher them like you would cattle.
Okay.
Like if you were to go into like a cattle processing plant,
Yeah.
you know, the cows are just quite happily kind of just going along their thing and they're doing their thing. Bison are retarded. Like they're crazy. Like they are the craziest animals you will ever, like, because they're super strong, they're super agile, and they're wild. So now you try and like go and butcher bison.
Yeah.
Well, it's just not happening.
It's a fight.
Oh yeah, they're crazy. And then, so that was an issue. But then the other thing is now you're buying these animals, it's so expensive. So now the meat price goes way up. Well, I'm not going to pay 10 times what I would pay for a beef burger for a bison burger. So what it was is there was just, and then the market just crashed. Guys lost tons of money.
Well, once the boom happened, everyone's like, we got to get into the bison business.
And then it was like, all of a sudden it was like, oh, I guess people don't want to pay that much for meat. And then it was like, oh, well, I guess, without customers, this isn't going to work. And then you couldn't, and then if you lowered the price too much, there's not enough animals to meet supply. Right? So it's still more of an expensive meat to get, but it's just not doesn't have that.
Yeah.
It's kind of, the market's figured itself out. It's like, okay, we're never going to be like beef. We're just going to be this little niche market. Anyways, so I grew up on a farm, totally random. But then I got into paintballing at a young age. And my parents had sold some of their chicken quota, which is another weird thing.
Okay.
Chickens are, you have to actually go buy the right to raise chickens.
So like a taxi license?
Yeah, kind of. I guess you could say that. It's almost like a stock. So it's like you got to go and buy this quota for X number of dollars a unit so that you can raise these animals and make money off of them.
Who the heck who are you buying the quota
I don't know how that works. I just know the high level side of it. But then you can sell that quota.
Oh.
So same thing. So my parents, the quota went quite high or was going higher.
Yeah.
Like they bought it at like stocks. You buy at a low price.
Yeah.
It was going up. My dad was kind of looking at different things in his life and wanted to go back into school and stuff like that. So he sold some of his quota.
Oh.
And was able to go back to school. So they had these empty buildings. And I was like, hey, I should start a paintball business.
No way.
Yeah, so I started a paintball field just outside of Lethbridge when I was like...
No way.
Yeah, so I started
Smart. That's not
well,
dumb.
I don't know if it was smart. But I went like all in, and this is the crazy part is I'm maybe an all or nothing type person. So I was like all in, full in, like I'm gonna do this. This is gonna make me millions of dollars. Right? Like 16-year-old.
Yeah.
16-year-old kid. You're like, oh, this is great. Yeah, exactly. You're like, this is gonna be the thing. I'm gonna make so much money. So then I go into this, and we just hammer down, or I hammer down. My parents are like incredibly gracious. They helped me out with some financing to get things started, and I actually connected with a larger company out of Calgary. Kind of partnered with them a bit.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Oh no. And this is like all 16. So I'm like, and the thing is this is just a weird thing for me. Most kids, their parents would not be like, hey, here, have access to like, I think it was like $40,000 or $60,000.
Yeah, you gotta buy all the paint.
Like it was
paintball equipment.
Like when I think back on it,
Yeah.
and I go, okay, my son's getting closer to that age.
Yeah.
To go, hey, here's a blank check.
Yeah. I have a check for you.
You get to figure out how to spend all of this.
Yeah.
And you got this.
Away you go.
And so I went after it. And
Maybe
I'm like,
it's a better investment than Bitcoin.
yeah, I don't know. Probably similar, right? Similar to Bitcoin. Anyway, so I'm going after this and I'm doing it, and I'm like, and it's weird because I'm in high school doing this.
Yeah.
So for me, high school was not like most normal people's high school. High school for me was like, I was thinking business. Like I'm thinking like, I'm not out partying. I'm not out like doing a lot of stuff. I am like, I get home from school and I'm working on my business.
Yeah. Like, how am I gonna make my millions?
Yeah, like weekends. How am I gonna do this? I'm reading books. I'm listening to podcasts.
Dude,
like
that's
I am
cool.
like dialed in at 16. My grandpa was, who's since passed away now, but he was like he was one of the founding partners of an accounting firm that used to be in Lethbridge. Actually, one of the bigger ones. It was Watkinson, Hanhart, Duda Dorchuk or something like that, I think. Anyway, so he was Hanhart. Yeah. But so he'd kind of semi-retired, or maybe was retired at the time. So he actually would meet with me once a week. I think it was after the first few years, because my mom and dad were like, hey, we're not doing much here. He needs some help. They're kind of like to, my grandpa, hey, can you just help him? Like, cause we can't so my grandpa's meeting with me.
I do chickens.
Yeah. So my grandpa's meeting with me. He's, obviously accountant, started his own firm, very well established, did a great job. But a Dutch, he's Dutch.
Yeah.
Okay. So very, very, I don't know if you have.
Frugal?
Well, kind of like, how German people would typically be very blunt?
Yep.
So Dutch people are a little bit more like that as well.
Yeah.
So he was very blunt, and I was like, I still have notes that I have from him, like where he'd be like, if you don't do this, you're going to fail. Like you are failing right now.
Yeah, yeah.
Like not like make you feel good. Like, hey, you're doing a really good job.
Keep it up.
It's like you need to do this, or you're going to fail. Like he's like, you need to track your sales. Are you tracking your sales? I'm like, well, I get money.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, what are you selling? How many of those things are you selling? Are you managing your inventory? Are you doing this? I'm freaking 16 years old. I'm just like, I bought some paintball guns. People shoot them, and I charge them money.
Yeah.
And
Of course I'm making money.
He's like, so it's like, anyway, so he's like profit loss, all this stuff. He's like, you write on your receipts, you keep your receipts, you don't throw your receipts in the garbage. Don't you dare hand your bookkeeper a box of receipts.
Right,
like it's
right.
like, okay. And you staple those receipts corner to corner. Like, like I'm 16. I'm like, I don't know. Sure, Grandpa.
That's pretty good. That's pretty good guy to have in your corner
Oh,
at
yeah.
the same time.
But it was like, when I look back at my notes, I'm like, I showed my wife the other day, and she's like, you loved your grandpa? Like, he was kind.
He
to
was
you?
a nice
man.
man?
He was a nice man. It's like, oh yeah, he's great. Anyways, so I did that for probably 16 till I was like 19. And what's crazy about that is, it was my first experience with failure as well. So when I was 19, and like, again, these are the things that every entrepreneur, I think, goes through this. They jump into something. They've got these huge ambitions. They're like, I'm going to be the next, like, whatever. Like, I'm going to have the best auto repair shop. Or I'm going to have the best landscaping company. Or, like, we all jump in, and we're just like, this is going to be, and this is how it's going to go. We make these plans. You go to the bank, you do your business proposal, and you do the numbers, and you're like, man, look at those numbers. Look how much money I'm going to make. Like, right? And you jump in, and you think you can do it all, and I'm doing this. And then I decided to go to school as well, because I was like, I should get my business diploma.
Yeah.
So I'm at the college, doing all this, working my ass off, making no money.
Right.
You'd sit there as a 16-year-old kid, and you'd have like $3-4 grand in like a couple months or something like that, or a couple weeks, and you'd be depositing into your bank account. And you're like, oh, look at this stack of cash. And then you're like, but I gotta pay my bills. You're like, crap, I have nothing left. And you're like, what the heck? So then I'm 19, and I can remember it clear as day. It's like I am working, and I look around. It's like one of these clarity moments, right? And I'm looking around, and I look at all these guys that own these paintball fields that are quite well established, and I'm like, they're not doing that great. Like, this is never going to be what I, in my mind, think this is going to be. Like, and maybe it could have. Maybe it could have, right? But, like, I'm sitting there going, like, I don't even know if I want to be in this industry. Like, I don't even know if this is what... Like, you only have so much time in your life, and you're like, is this really what I want to invest in? Now, looking back on some of this, I would say maybe I shouldn't have looked at it so dark, in the sense of, like, I was thinking maybe more monetary, not necessarily enjoyment, because I loved doing what I was doing. I loved the customers, loved playing. So I quite literally, it probably didn't happen like this, but it felt like I went to bed one night, and then I woke up the next day and I said, I'm done. I'm done.
Mm-hmm. I knew you were going.
Like, I'm done. Like, I'm done. Like, this is, like, how am I ever going to have kids? How am I going to ever get married? Like, how am I going to make my millions?
Yeah.
Like, this is crazy. Like, I'm done. And I dropped out of school, shut down the business. I had like 3 or 4 kids working for me at the time. Like, and great. Like, I loved that. Like, I loved working with people. I loved hiring these guys, and they all loved working with me. Like, and this kind of follows me. My attitude has always been, how do you create, like, you got to have fun at work. Like, you got to have, like, yes, you got to have seriousness, and you got to be, dialed in. But man, you spend 8 hours a day at work. Like if you can't have some fun while you're working.
100%.
So I created a great environment. The guys loved it, but I had to shut it. I shut it down. I was like, I'm done. I can't do this. And I don't talk. I talk to most people pretty openly about that. But I honestly went through like probably the most depressed time of my life because I'm like 19 years old. I got like 20 to 40,000 in debt, just like.
Okay, I was gonna ask you, did you pay your parents?
No,
back?
this is what I'm saying, right? So you're sitting there and you got like nothing, and you're like completely like, well, crap. Like.
This sucks.
I have no education. Like, I've got all this debt. Like, what am I gonna do? But I'm like, I can't keep doing this.
Yeah.
So then I kind of took like a month of just depression. Like, and if you ask my dad, he would be like, I would never want my worst enemy to go through what my son went through. Because he, like, in some ways, I think my dad felt responsible because, like, I gave him all this finances, and then all of a sudden he's got these debts and stuff tied to him at like a young age. So it was super tough,
Yeah,
right?
but like, what an education.
Oh,
like,
huge.
Don't get me wrong. I know that like college, university has its place, but like, you would have probably paid that in tuition, and you couldn't have learned what you learned in 3 years of like hands-on like running a business. Like,
not even a question. And just life skills, just like growing up, like just like again, like I grew up like super quick. Like it was like because you're dealing with like adults, right? Like I'm doing like business deals. I'm setting up like talking to suppliers, working with suppliers, making orders, paying bills. Like at 16. Right? Like most 16-year-olds are like, hey, mom and dad, like they're not having to manage their finances. They're not having to manage like anything. Like I'm sitting there having to manage insurance, like
payroll,
payroll, right? Like all these things, this is my world. And
well,
then
I imagine your dad gave you the money because he could see you were at least invested in entrepreneur. If
no,
you were
I was
watching podcasts and it's like this kid is like on a path.
Yeah, but I'll tell you, man, it took me out. Like it's really hard because it took me, I think it was 4 or 5 years before I got back into the next business that I got into, right? Like and to get into the next business was scary. Like very scary because you're like, oh, I'm just gonna fail again. Like I just don't have what it takes. I can't cut it.
You know what? I think that's part of owning a business.
It is. I think 100% it is. I think
you heard it even like networking, right? Like the, I guess kind of the imposter syndrome a bit.
Totally.
Maybe it's not.
No. Like, well, it's like that story I was telling you, right? Yeah. Like in that magazine, it's like you've got this lion. Like kind of, it's almost like a parade, and you've got this guy sitting on. It says, "This is what entrepreneurship is," and the guy's sitting on the lion, and everybody around him is watching him as he's going down the street, and they're going, "Man, this guy's great! Oh, you're so awesome!" And he's sitting there going, "I don't know how I got on this thing, and I don't know how I can get off without getting eaten alive, and hopefully I just don't die."
So like,
yes,
nobody sees like all of that grind.
No.
Most people, like you said, I love your analogy, but like most people just see you when you're on the lion.
Oh yeah.
They didn't see you when you were riding the donkey.
I know,
and you were like,
you're like, hopefully I get there. You're like, your wife's sitting there going, you can do it, babe. You're like, hopefully.
And most of the time, you were the donkey.
Oh my gosh, right?
You were the one that had the sacks on his back, going like, I gotta climb this hill, man. Oh man.
Well, what's crazy about it, because I think because you don't hear about the average, right? You hear about like the 1%. Yeah. It's like even like celebrities, right? Or even basketball players, right? You see the all-stars, you see the and you do the interviews, and everybody wants to be that, and everybody wants to get there, and some people do.
Yep.
But most people, you're not going to be a Jeff Bezos. You're not going to be but you need to have, like you were kind of saying, you need to have a little bit of that cloud nine where you're like, I can be the Jeff Bezos. I can do that. Because otherwise you won't
You won't have the ambition.
Yes.
Or the stomach.
Yeah, you'll just kind of be like, ah.
Because I think like, and sports is probably the best way to think about it, but like, whether it's Michael Jordan or whoever, like, how much time did they put into mastering their craft? Right?
Well,
Tiger Woods, whatever, however you want to call it.
Now, what's the crazy part? This is what I think about sometimes, is what are the guys that are putting in all that time? But, maybe they're just missing that natural gifting.
Yeah.
Or maybe they were just missing that right opportunity.
Sure.
And they never became the Michael Jordan.
Sure.
Do you know what I'm
You're
saying?
not wrong.
Like, it's like, how many of those people are out there?
You're not wrong. There's some people that are in the wrong place, wrong time,
totally.
wrong whatever. I mean, there's definitely other factors for sure, but it's like, but realistically, even just from like a starting your own business component, like if you can put in that time,
oh yeah,
you will make it. What make it looks like though is
well, and that's
right. Even like talking about your paintball, like if you would have held on to it, it's not to say that it wouldn't be around still today.
Correct.
It might not be the income generator that's going to feed your family.
See, and that's what I've thought often. I've thought back and gone, man, if I would have just maybe maintained that and then maybe got someone kind of running it and just kind of had that, and that was a start, and then maybe started something else, right?
Yep.
But again, that's the age thing, right? It's that wisdom, that understanding. It's like but I would never know that if I hadn't gone through that. Like looking back and going and hearing what you're saying, I'm like, yeah, like I can see some of those things.
Well, because I think sometimes, like, I mean, I still go through it, but it's like a lot of times you have to look at entrepreneurship as obviously you're building it, right? So you're putting in the time and energy, but a lot of people just end up buying themselves a job.
Yeah,
that's the trouble.
Honestly, if I hear someone that's like, I love my job, but I hate my boss, so I'm going to just start this business because I just am tired of my boss. I'm like, just try and find another job. Like, try and find a better boss.
Yeah.
Because if you don't love business and you go and start a business, well, and maybe just a single, like owner operator, maybe that's okay.
Yep.
But even that, I'm like, man, all the extra phone calls you got to answer, all the extra like late nights, the extra pressure. I'm like,
it's the feast famine.
Yeah, like even if you're making an extra, say, $20,000-$30,000 a year than what you would be making if you're working for someone, I'm like, I don't know if it's worth the stress.
Right.
Like, just try and find a great company to work at. And again, right, if I guess you go around that many times and you can't find a great company and then that becomes your passion, I'm going to create a great place for people to work, but then that's got to become your passion.
Yes.
No longer is plumbing your passion.
No.
Your passion now is creating this great place for people to work.
You have to.
That all these, because you know what, I think AirTech actually, I think was developed, like came out of something like that.
Okay, yeah.
Like it's a amazing company from things I've heard from talking to people. But I think it came out of something like that. Like a bunch of guys were just kind of tired, wanted something different, so they all kind of pooled together and were like, we're going to create this.
Let's make something different.
Yeah, no, and they, from what I've heard, like, and again, I could be wrong, this is years ago talking to people, it's like they've built a pretty solid,
that's cool,
good company, like that's cutting edge in some different like customer service aspects and like great place to work. Anyways, like, but again, like that's how that came out of. They're like, screw this, let's get together and we can do this as a team better. And it looks like they've done it and they've done well. So
I don't disagree with you there. It's yeah, it has to come.
But don't start a business just for like a job's sake is what I'm like.
Yeah, and see, this is the tough part because, like I say, I understand I want to build like solopreneurship.
Yeah.
In terms of like, hey, like I want to be my own boss. I want to kind of do my thing.
Yes.
Maybe I'm gonna be able to earn $100,000 a year.
Yeah, and there are some industries that I think that works great on.
Whatever the number is, but I just mean like, let's just say that that's your goal. Is you're just trying to get to a place where you get to earn your 6 figures for yourself and you don't have to answer to somebody else.
Yeah.
And that's fair. There's nothing, like I say, I'm not picking on that.
Yeah.
my brain, at least my brain, was always around not how do you create McDonald's. I know this is a weird example, but how do you create a business like McDonald's in the systemization of things? Because if you can create a business that can be systemized in a way that, I know I'm simplifying, but I use McDonald's because it's very simple, right? It's like, the weight of the ingredients, the type of ingredients, the cooking time, which buns to use, what cheese to put, like everything is laid out so that a 14-year-old can walk into McDonald's and with basically, I know I'm generalizing, but it's like with basically like one shift's training, it's like, great, you're a cook now.
Okay. Now this is totally, okay, like you've got me on okay, this is a thought I've been thinking about, okay?
Yeah.
It's totally off topic what we're talking about. So I've kind of at times wondered, and I'm going to try to explain this that makes sense, and I don't know if it wouldn't work everywhere or whatever else, because I am seeing more of that where people are wanting that solopreneurship, okay? I've wondered if somewhat things are going to change towards that more. It like just track with me, and I'll use the McDonald's example. It's not a good example, but it's just like just to draw the point. Say you had a guy that was like friggin' dialed into burger flipping. Right? Like this guy is like the burger flipper, to like flip all burgers, okay? And that guy goes and says, like I'm this best burger flipper. So he can now go and work at another burger joint, and they pay him like as a solo entrepreneur to just be that burger flipper because he's so good at it. Yeah. But they just pay him like they would like a subcontractor. Yep. And they got the till person because they love talking to people, and they build their whole solopreneur business about being the best customer service rep. Yep. Right? And then they get paid based on that, and so on and so on. Like I've kind of like McDonald's, I think, is a horrible example of that, but you get what I'm saying. Even with like plumbers and different things like that, like there's certain things that like the way our bookkeeping is now, like you just go buy freaking whatever it is, and even some of the AI stuff that helps people like manage and do all that back end work. Yeah. Like, 20 years ago, it was not as easy to just go get QuickBooks online and type, or like take a picture of your receipt that uploads.
Receive a payment.
And like automatically, everything just kind of automatically does it. And I'm going, the more automated some of that becomes, it almost leads into more of some of that solopreneurship. Yep. And then I would almost wonder if you'd get to a place where you get like all these solopreneurs come together and they go, hey, we're going to do this big job together, right? Because that's the one thing with the solopreneurship stuff. It's harder to do bigger projects, right? Because you still almost need one person.
That is that. Well, I always see the challenge is this: anybody that truthfully gets in business at some level. Yeah. I'm not saying like literally, but at some level, you want to kick the crap out of everybody else.
Yeah, because
mentally. I'm not saying literally.
It's like playing sports.
Like it doesn't mean that you don't want someone not to succeed. But,
no.
But yeah, it is. It's like playing sports. Like we're playing a game. Yeah. And I want to win. Yeah. And
you want to win too.
If there's a winner, there's going to be a loser. And it doesn't mean it's like a literal 1-to-1 like winner loser in business. Yeah. But like, yeah, you're
all winning.
You want to win the game.
Yes, and you're all winning because you get to kind of. It's like that. Challenging each other, like, iron sharpens iron type side of things. Like, it's like, if you're not playing against good players, you're never going to be better. So even if you're losing, but you're playing against good players, your skill level is going to go through the roof.
100%.
Right? 100%. And so it's like maybe they win sometimes, maybe you win sometimes. And I think you see that in like fighters, like in UFC. Yeah. Sometimes you get the fighters where they just hate each other. Yeah, yeah. But man, sometimes those guys afterwards are like, "Oh, great fight, man! You just beat the crap out of my face. Like, good job! Like, oh, you're awesome! Like, it's that like we went at it. Yeah. You were better than me this time. Maybe I'll be better than you next time. Like, but it's not like here, and you got to be careful with that because it's not. You don't want to get to the
competitive.
Extreme. Yeah, you don't want to get to the extreme where it's like, I'll do whatever it takes to win. Like,
I'll do anything.
Yeah, I'm gonna stab this guy like before I get out there and fight. Like, or I'm gonna put like weights in my gloves. So, like, you know what I mean? Like, it's like fair competition, right? Like, and as long as everybody's playing by the rules, and working together, then it's a fun. It can be a fun thing. Competition.
No, and it's good, and it's healthy.
Yes,
it's healthy to have competition. The challenge I see. Because I almost kind of relate that to like let's call it the gig worker economy, right?
Sure, yeah.
The only challenge I see with that is at the end of the day, like if plumber A and plumber B, let's say, charge similar prices, and plumber A and plumber B are going to work together in some capacity, how do they both get paid?
I know.
And so the reason why I say that is I think and again, I could be an idiot here, but like, I think the difference is if you're in the gig space or freelance space or whatever, you're going to have some contracts that give you that, like, let's call it end user pay.
Yeah.
Whatever, let's say that the rate is, you're charging $100 an hour, just to say something. Okay, great. You're going to have that. But as a solopreneur, it's cyclical. And if you're not outselling, whatever that looks like, whether that's through advertising, whether that's through knocking doors, whether that's referrals, whatever it is, right? It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
The point is in solopreneurship, I feel like it's like feast and then famine, because now you got to deliver on that work.
See, and I've never done the solopreneurship, but I could imagine it would be like,
so like
that.
Again, using the plumber, it's like if I go sell 10 hot water tanks today, I got to install those hot water tanks. If I'm installing those hot water tanks, I am not actively getting 10
more business
hot water tanks again.
Yeah.
So it's this cycle.
And you go into all of a sudden this like, do all this work, no work, try and find all this business,
right?
No work,
right?
Or get all the work, then try and do it. It's like, and that's why I say,
where
like,
I see the gig though, where I see these like, and we'll keep using the plumber as an example, where I see it working is when that plumber or whatever the person is can understand, hey, okay, I'm going to be doing some work for end users, but I'm also going to align myself with, DFE plumbing.
Yeah.
And at DFE plumbing, I'm still going to be the contractor with them, but I'm not charging them $100 an hour. I'm charging them $30, because 30 is what they need to be able to service their stuff, do their things, whatever. And at 30, that guy's probably going to feed me, even if we were to say 30% to 50% of my recurring revenue.
Yeah.
Great. Now I've got that base where my $100 stuff, that's the gravy.
Well, and you see that though with like a lot of plumbers and drywall guys, where they work for someone, and then on the weekends they're doing their side jobs. Sure. Yeah.
But I'm saying you could actually do it in that capacity. Where it becomes challenging is if the plumber's like, well, I charge $100 an hour, so if I do stuff for you, like, I'll do it for 80. And it's
I see what you're saying.
I'm sorry, but that the margin, like.
But you got to, and that's the thing. As a solopreneur, you have to take into account that it's like it costs you something to go get those jobs.
Yeah.
And you've got to let them, like, they've got to take that, and now they've got to spend that money to go find people, quote the job. They got to send someone out there to look at the job, everything else like that.
Yeah.
And then they basically hand it to you on a silver platter and say, okay, go do the work. And for some solopreneurs, that is the best gig ever.
Sure.
Because they love just going in there, doing the job, getting things done, and they hate all of the like finding clients.
Yeah, I don't want to do
doing this, doing that.
I don't know if I'm sure you watch Shark Tank or those shows at some point, but I don't remember if it was Kevin O'Leary or who said it, but I was literally just in a meeting this morning before we got to do this, and we were talking about kind of like that collaboration, and it was like, if I could sell your product, like, I'll give you like 10-15% commission, and my mind instantly went to like Kevin O'Leary a lot of times when they're like, and for $500,000 we're giving away like 5% equity in the company, and he always is like, I don't even like get up out of bed for anything less than 10% or 15% or whatever the number is, and And I was like, yeah, like people look at even sales as like, well, all you did was close the deal.
Yeah,
and it's like,
I know.
Do you know how many touch points I had to make? What about my network?
Yeah.
What about this? Like if honestly, like I'm different there. It's like if I can't make like 25 to 30%, I'm not selling it.
Yeah.
Because there's not enough margin.
Yeah, because I've got the ability to do this.
But not
and
just
my
the
time's
ability,
worth,
but like you're saying,
yeah,
like the infrastructure.
Yeah, and I've spent this many years of my life,
Yeah.
and I've made these connections, and I've built this reputation, and I've built this. Like that costs something for me to go out and sell that for you.
Yeah.
Like, and I have a like.
And if your margins aren't there, I can respect that.
Yeah.
I can respect that
for sure.
But it's like, yeah, if that's what you're gonna offer, then how are you gonna like?
Well, and that's for you.
How are you gonna motivate someone?
Well, and that's even for you in the ad industry and what you guys do, right? Because you're looking at it and going, hey, if I bring you these leads, this is how much I'm going to charge you.
Right.
Now, maybe this, like, because I've built this expertise, I know how to get these leads. Now, the problem is
sometimes
maybe
it makes sense.
Yeah, maybe your leads are not worth enough.
Right.
And so then it becomes, well, sorry, we've got it. Like, maybe I'm not the company for you. Maybe you've got to figure out a different niche to be able to do that, or you've got to increase your margins so that you can afford this.
Yeah.
Yeah, because otherwise you just end up spinning your wheels just trying to find customers, and you've only got so much time.
There's no perfect scenario. I'm just saying that one way or another, like you have to be, is pliable the right word? Like, Like you have to be, maybe not, you have to be open to different scenarios. And maybe you're working with one partner in one way, and maybe you're working with another way. What I agree with you on, like the solopreneurship or small business, whatever, is because a lot of companies, I mean, we're going through like the boomer retirement stage.
It's weird, man. Right
now, a
now,
lot of those people, I shouldn't say it, but a lot of those people are the business owners.
Yeah,
they're looking to retire. And the 18 to whatever, let's just say the 18 to 30-year-olds, they're going through a period where like housing is crazy expensive.
It's crazy,
right?
man.
Buying a vehicle, especially brand new, right? Like buying a brand new vehicle is like, you have the benefit of making monthly payments, but I mean like buying a truck nowadays is like it's $1,000 a month for a brand new truck for like 10 years, like. It's crazy, right?
I know. You're like, I can go buy another house.
Yeah.
Well, but even now you can't do that.
No,
like,
But my point is like now imagine that person's ready to retire. They've got a business worth a couple $1 million.
Yeah.
Where the heck does that 25-year-old get the money for that?
See, and to me, this is where.
So what I see is that, and what I'm watching even happen is as these boomers are retiring, the only people with the money are the bigger corporations.
Oh, I know.
And
It's killing me, honestly.
In comes, that investment group or whatever, they're buying up these companies. Even if they stay the same name, they're actually being owned by somebody in Toronto or wherever.
Yeah.
And
you know what it's doing, though? To me, it's creating a huge disparity between employees and employers, and you're seeing it. People are just like down with the corporations, like screw those guys, and like because you're feeling just like a number,
right?
Because you're
but it's
so
because
far,
you
because you are so far removed.
Like this isn't like I say, like sure you've got a boss, but the owner of that business is no longer the local guy.
Yeah,
that's like I say, it's the multinational or the national company.
Yeah.
So when it was the local guy, like that guy took pride knowing that he had to walk down the sidewalk, and if his staff didn't like him or his customers didn't like him, like they were going to cross the street and he wasn't going to be very friendly.
Yeah. Oh, totally.
But so I see that, and that's what I'm hopeful is that maybe what is happening is, like you say, this solopreneurship will kick in, or this starting kind of like really micro small businesses. Where they are more independent or just have like one or two employees.
Because it is hard. Like a lot of these companies that have been around, I'm sure, like there's a number of them probably even in Lethbridge. If their kids, don't want to take over it.
Yeah.
They, again, just get sold to a bigger company. And it just gets like even car dealerships, man, like that's crazy. Like even the Davis Group, they own a lot of different car dealerships. And like, it's just, there's becoming, now and some of these companies are doing a better job of it.
Sure.
But there's just less and less of those. The money's getting kind of more consolidated, which is hard.
But I also understood it from, so I had a conversation with a guy recently and I was like, oh man, like I wish I would have bought your business. And he's like, oh, I would have totally sold you the business. And I was like, oh, like, do you mind me asking how? And he told me, I was like, oh, well, I couldn't have bought it for that.
Yeah.
And I was like, dumb question, like, why wouldn't you have just like picked one of your employees or like, you know, a manager or whatever, somebody that's been invested in, just like said, okay, well, I'll owner finance this.
And what did he say?
And
it's riskier.
Right, but in my mind, it still made sense, right? Like I get the risk, but
Yeah.
I was like, hey, here's a great way for like you to just retain ownership in retirement and get a payment every month instead of
This big lump sum.
big lump capital gains, blah, blah, blah. But his answer made sense. Like I actually had to think about it. And he's like, Levi, like this is also my retirement.
Yeah.
And he's like, as much as I want to do the feel good thing, he's like, I've also put in my, you know, however many years.
I know.
And I deserve to go and relax. And why do I want to take the risk of you not paying me 1 month that could affect my life?
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, like that's absolutely fair.
So here's the cool, this is where my idea, back to my idea, okay? My earlier idea. What I'd love to do is create like a pool of cash, right? Where you would just go and buy those, like you'd find guys that wanted to start their businesses. Yeah. And you would be the guy to buy these businesses out and help transition those ownerships to other independent guys.
Right.
Right? But like again, and you know, you'd maybe retain say a 10% or something like, I don't know how.
Yeah.
This is just like me, like ideas that I have sometimes. But now what you're doing is you're helping develop this entrepreneurial attitude in a small, because we always think about these seedbed investments and stuff like that, like big multi-billion-dollar companies wherever. Yes. But I always like, is there a way you could do that in like a smaller community?
I think there is, but I think it goes back to what you went through. I think you have to actually start it way back down, which is, granted, like you were lucky you had that level of access to that your family was willing
that my parents were willing to do that, right?
But I'm just saying, like, and I get it, not everyone can still do this, but even if like, what would be the overall risk of, at like you say, at 16, giving your son, daughter and say, look, I got $1,000 for you. I want you to try and start a business with it. Knowing full well that the likelihood of failure is like that your $1,000 is gone. Sure. I mean, it beats 60, right? But yeah. But I just mean like to give them that educational experience of being like, go find something, whatever it is. I don't care what it is, right? You want to go sell lollipops on this like corner of the neighborhood?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. You want to sell lemonade? You want to fix a lawnmower? I don't care.
But just go after it.
But here's the money, and you can only use it with the purpose of starting something. So whether you got to go buy a piece of equipment or something to get you on the road, of just getting you to think more entrepreneurially. Yeah. So that regardless of where life takes you, you at least have the baseline understanding of, hey, this, whether I'm an employee, you can now respect. Maybe respect is the wrong word, but
you can appreciate.
You can appreciate, yes.
You can appreciate.
You can really appreciate, like, man, I can't imagine what it took this guy to get here.
Yeah.
And I want to be a part of his team. Yeah. Because he has done X, Y, J thing. Or vice versa, it's like, hey, now that I have this baseline knowledge, I still might have to go work some, like, I always say, like, whatever happened to sweat equity, in the sense of, like, go spend 5 years in the industry you want to tackle and learn it inside. Ask questions about financing, ask questions about, like, go work for that big, if you want to label it crappy corporation, and learn it, and then start your business, because now you come out of it with the knowledge. I'm not saying everybody has to take that path, but I really do believe in like knowing as
Getting
much as
people
you can
in.
and getting like the knowledge of what that big corporation has built, so that you can be like, what would I do differently? How could I make that better? Or
well, and you know how hard it is to sometimes. You understand what it takes. It gives you better appreciation. Like it really is that appreciation for what it is to actually get this all to work together. Like it's quite crazy when you start seeing how things like these bigger companies work together. It's like it's crazy when you start growing and trying to figure out how to make things work together efficiently. It's nuts.
I'm not huge into it. Like, I don't watch enough American football, but I think, like, have you ever, like, really looked at, like, the scribbles of a play?
Oh, yeah. I have no idea.
Like, I don't understand them, right? But I look at them, I'm like, yeah, that looks pretty entrepreneurial to me. Like, it's like, look, I want you to run this pattern, but the chances of you getting smoked by somebody is going to be, like, really high,
right? Like, and it is like it's like when you're doing your business planning, right? You're like, this is the strategy, and then you're like, frick, that didn't work. You're like, oh, I got sacked in that one. Like, you're like, okay, try again.
But I'm saying, like, I love the running plays, because I'm like, you're actually throwing the ball with the very knowledge. Like, obviously, you're trying to score a touchdown. But you're literally throwing the ball with the very, like, at least getting sacked. It's like, I was trying to throw the ball and I got hit. This is like, I am throwing the ball. I literally threw it to my guy, knowing full well that there is somebody
that's going
6 inches away from him that is like desperate to just crush his soul. And I think that happens a lot with, like, that's why I say business is like, whether it's a sale, whether you like keep it on the plumbing thing, like you go install a hot water tank. Even if you do a great job, you don't know if you just installed that to like a really crazy customer too.
Oh my gosh!
Right?
Yeah, you don't, and I'll tell you. And
they become a nightmare.
Oh man, those are the worst. Okay, this is another funny one I think about is, what if there was a website that you could review customers? Do you know what I mean? Like, that's like the whole social score thing. Yeah. But I'm like, there's part of me, when I was doing another business, it was that. It was like, how do you, like, get away from those people? Because they usually are like, hey, how's it going? And then you're like, they haven't paid their bill. They're still not paying their bill. Yeah. I bet you they haven't paid someone else's bill.
Son of a gun. I'm stuck here.
Well, that's what's hard, like when you're...
But that's learning boundaries, right? Yeah. Like early on, this is a really good tip is, like, especially as when you're starting, cash flow is king.
Oh yeah.
No credit.
Yeah, I would agree.
0 credit.
100%. Get a deposit even if you can.
That's
and then
deposit 100%.
And then when you're done that
and if
job,
somebody's like, why would I pay you a deposit? There's your flag to be like, this is not the customer for me, because it doesn't mean that they're going to have bad intentions.
And then you're like,
it's just that one extra notch where it's like, this could
like, why,
be
why wouldn't you want to pay me?
Like, if you don't trust me to do the job, then
maybe this is not a good fit.
But you're not going to trust me when I'm done the job, likely.
Yeah.
Likely, not 100%.
Not 100%.
And I get some people's hesitation too. I mean,
because they've been screwed over by contractors, which you see as well.
You see it. So you see, I get both sides, but I'm just saying, as a business, like, you should be running a reputable business in the first place. But more importantly, like, set the boundaries early to be like, I need to get a deposit. I don't collect the final payment until you're happy.
Yeah.
The installation's done or whatever it looks like, and then I'll collect the final. And then,
but it saves you, like, that cash flow is,
because
honestly,
the worst is, hey, I'm done the job, and it's like, here's the invoice, and you walk away, and it's like, now
maybe
what?
30 days, maybe 45 days, maybe the next day.
Yeah.
I remember those customers, they'd pay the next day, you'd be like, yes.
Dude, I've had in my time, I've had customers that it's like, they were like the best customer, and then they fell off the planet.
Yeah.
And like, so send the bill.
Because things happen.
And even if it was like, a couple of them weren't like malintentional. Like, one guy literally just forgot to say, like, hey, I'm only here 2 months of the year.
No way.
And then he would go, like, he wasn't very computer literate. and he would spend the
other
basically 10 months.
Or 10 months, yeah.
He was in Holland.
No way.
So he didn't really like do email, none of that. And so literally I remember we did this job and he left without saying anything. You know, he's an older guy, like old school dude, whatever.
Yeah.
And we're like calling, nothing. I'm like, well, looks like we just ate that money.
And then all of a sudden he comes back.
And then all of a sudden, like 10 months later, I remember he's like, hey, I just wanted to come by and pay that bill. And it was like, what? Like, dude, like, I wrote that off. Like, it's been 10 months. He's like, oh, no, I got the money. I just happened to. So I just mean, like.
Those are kind of fun, though, when that happens, because you're like, sweet. It almost feels like free money. You're like.
It's a weird situation, but I just mean, like, that is the stuff that could happen.
Yeah.
Like, you could end up in a place where, especially when you're dealing with, like, business to consumer sales, like, yeah, like, they could have booked you a month ago.
Yeah.
With the full intention of like, hey, I want this installed, I want this done. And leading up to that month, their washing machine broke.
Oh, totally.
You know, they got in an accident or whatever. Their kids called and said, Dad, I need some money.
Oh, totally. And all of a sudden that
their
cash.
finances are thrown for a loop and they're like, well, you know, like maybe if I can just get this done and I'll try and pay this guy in like 15 to 30 days. And it can be challenging. But that's why I say setting boundaries.
Well, especially when you're new, because you don't typically have the flexibility. Like, you need that money.
No, but even then, even when you're established, like McDonald's is a pretty freaking established business.
Yeah.
You know, you don't get to order the burger and be like, I'll come pay for that burger in a couple of weeks.
That would be pretty sweet, though.
It would.
I would have a lot out there that's just like, oh yeah, I forgot about that McDonald's bill I had.
Until you got like the bill in the mail and it was like, hi sir, here's the bill for your 32 burgers.
Oh my God.
But
I thought it was free.
That's my point is like, I've always said, if you're going to be a business, don't be unless you are going into business to be a bank, you're not the bank.
Yeah.
And so I get that there's going to be like tough situations in life for all of us, but I'm not your bank.
Yeah.
You know, if you bought something from me, you should have bought it with the full intention of paying for it, you know, quote unquote, before you walk out the door. And if you didn't, you go get a loan. It's not my job to carry your business. So I always laugh at it. Was like, you know, even to this day, like I've worked with companies where it's like, okay, well, just so you know, like our payment terms are net 30, and they're like, oh, well, our payment terms are net 90, and I'm like, you're buying from me, not me buying from you. I don't care what your payment terms are. I'm not buying from you. If I was buying from you, then yes, if you want it to be net 90, I'll happily pay you in 90 days.
There was a company that we didn't work for because that's how they did their payment stuff. We kind of found that out.
Yeah.
Like this is not the paintball one, but the other company I was involved in. But there was a property management company.
Yeah.
And we were really eager. We were starting. We had just started, and we kind of found out. All of a sudden, they're like getting all these quotes, and they're super happy with their quotes. And then we kind of were like, oh, something doesn't feel right. So we kind of like started going through the grapevine. We started Googling them, and it's like you could see other contractors. Yeah. These guys say they'll pay you in 90 days, and they don't even pay you in 90 days. Yeah. And I was like, and this was a bigger property management company, not a local one actually, but just like a bigger one. And I was like, and so we were just like, no, we're not doing any business with them. Because we'd actually been, oh yeah, man, there's another story with that. We had a whole bunch of money that.
But that's a crazy challenge, right?
Oh yeah,
and that's why I say it's really important to have those boundaries, because like that can, even successfully on paper, you can go broke.
Oh, I know.
Right?
This is the thing that you don't know about until you're in business.
You know this from your other business, but like you could literally have like $2 million in a contract and no cash and go bankrupt.
Oh, I know. It's wild.
Right? Because
people don't understand accounting until you start getting into business more, and you realize that it's like profit loss. Like, what does that really mean? Because there's profit loss and then there's like cash flow, right? Like, and if you don't have that cash flow, your profit loss can look great, But if you can't pay those bills because you don't have the cash flow,
it don't matter.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. Yeah, it's wishful thinking.
And then when you go and liquidate everything, it just never pays out
Sure.
what it could have,
Sure.
what's on the books.
Sure. And I get it. There's going to be certain jobs where that, like, or certain companies that you want to work with that's not possible to be like, these are my terms and I don't care what your terms are.
No, and you got.
I'm not trying to say that, but at least early on, I would just try and stay away from, even though they might seem like that is the dream guy I wish I could do work for. It's like, it's not the right time until you've built enough of a cushion that you can afford to work for that guy, because even though that guy's going to pay you great, like you said, you might not get paid for 4, 5, 6 months by the time it goes through their whole national PO system, departments, blah, blah, blah.
We had one that went real, I think probably within the first 2 years, I think we had to write off like $30,000 or something like that. Yeah. And that was like a lot of money at the time, like a lot. And it was just like, oh yeah, and it was just like we're sitting there going like, crap. And what it was is it was another property management company we were working for.
Yeah.
And they kind of were like, hey, we just want to work with one lawn care company.
Yeah.
And you guys will do the maintenance for all of our condos. And so, quote it out, give us good, fair pricing, and you guys will be our guys. Because it makes it easier. And I could appreciate that. I was like, oh, that makes sense. And so we get like, it was like 10 units or something like that, or I can't remember. But So we're doing all this work. And then, they pay, and all of a sudden they kind of stopped paying, and it was a little later, and all of a sudden it was like, not answering phone calls. Then all of a sudden it was like, oh, they're going bankrupt. And it was like, oh, shoot. Yeah. And it was 30 grand out. It was a tough, but it was like, you learned from that for sure.
Well, business is like ongoing education. You're going to have moments where you're going to spend that, and chalk it up as an educational investment.
Those are the worst.
If you can afford to.
I know, right?
It's like, that cost me 30 grand to learn that lesson. I'm not making that mistake again.
I know. I remember listening to a podcast about similar to that. Yeah. It's talking about like startups and stuff like that, and getting cash and stuff like that. And they were like, get as much cash as you can, as quick as you can. Now, I don't necessarily fully agree with this, but I'll explain their thought process behind it. So, for instance, even when you're starting your business, most people are like, I only need this much from the bank. And I'm like, no, you probably need triple whatever you're asking the bank for. But whatever else, in a sense, you almost want to get as much as you can.
Yes.
Right off the start, because what happens is when things go bad, and you're going through a tough time in your business, no one will give you anything.
Right.
So when things are good, get as much credit cushions as you can.
As you can.
Because now you can't use it.
Sure.
Like, don't use it.
Yeah, it doesn't mean abuse the.
Yeah. But the whole thought process is you never know when that big crap storm will come in.
Yep.
And you just need to get through it.
Yep. To
get to profitability again.
Yep.
Because if you don't do it when it's good, as soon as you start going down,
they're looking.
Banks are like, nope. People are like, nope. Like no one
Not
wants.
Not only that, the difference between getting a personal loan or a car loan versus a business loan, like, but that's the thickness of your. Not even is the thickness of your personal loan document. That's the thickness of
I know, but you know what I'm saying? But the thing is if you don't get that cushion in there, man, like that, because usually what it is because you go through something unexpected, like what I've just explained.
Yeah.
It's not that you can't recover from something like that, but if you don't have the cash to carry you through that, you won't recover. You could have the best business in the world.
And it ain't happening.
And all of a sudden you're done. Oh, it's brutal. So brutal. Anyways, I don't know.
Yeah.
Do you want to?
Yeah. No, that
we
was
could
a
probably
great-
call that.
That was a great conversation.
Didn't even get into the other stuff.
No,
so that's great.
we're gonna have to do like round 2, man.
Yeah, that'd be fun, man.
Because with you, we could just like go off on like
Oh, these tangents! I love
all
it.
these
I
fun
love talking
directions,
about this
man,
stuff,
I love
man.
it.